Pastor Noah, what was your experience? Just, you've been here for the History Makers training, right?
Yeah.
And from what I heard, Pastor's been doing trainings before we even came for this history.
every month.
Can you tell the viewers just, were you getting any sleep? Were you sleeping? What was going on with you?
I learned new pressures that the body could take.
Wow.
By just attending right from the first day, it was straight into work. You start watching a movie at 12 midnight basically, and you're required to analyze the lessons in that movie, submit your assignment by 8 o'clock in the morning. Immediately you get into the teaching, get into workshops. You're only given about 4 hours in the evening from 4 to finish all your assignments, which are already by now about 4 assignments.
And to read a book, and to read a whole book.
You're supposed to have read a book, and you're supposed to have reported that book before you start the evening session.
Right.
So actually, over these 3 days, I got a maximum of 2 hours sleep, if any. And yet the pressure was on, because day 2 was starting. It had its own number of books. It had its own workshops. Then there was day 3. So it was really a boot camp of teaching. And it's not just doing an assignment for the sake of doing an assignment. This is an assignment that changes your life. These are lessons that Pastor Sunday is talking about, which changed his ministry, that was successful. These are key elements he's giving you. These are key wisdom points that he's giving you. So in all that pressure, you are being transformed. You're like, wow, I have not been doing any work on this earth. So spiritual pressure, physical pressure, emotional pressure. So it is really intense, but what the diamond that comes out of there is unimaginable.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to add something that Noah was saying about the body. Sometimes, like I said personally, I've been very selfish and I like my body and I want to rest. And I thought to myself, I won't manage this training. How can I stretch my body? And from the time it started, I just kept going. And there's a point where my stomach, of course, was, weak and what. And I said, no, you know what? There's more in me. I can go further. And that's the thing. And it's funny, we are still alive. We're still here. We've been here since 4th of April, but we're still alive. We're still strong, still going. I feel like, I can keep going. So there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot in us. There's a lot of potential.
Now, viewers would like to talk about some of those factors that there's no way to actually explain what has taken place now in the God Embassy Church. There's really no word to use to describe what is going on here. But before we get into that, we'd like to talk about some of the specific things, the key factors that God has given to you and that you have passed on to your leaders. But before you go into those factors, there was a man of God who actually came here. He was one of your guest speakers. And I don't know, maybe those in Africa may know him better. Those in the West may not know him that much, but his name is W.F. Kumuyi. Professor, I know you know him. What can you tell us about W.F. Kumuyi?
Well, Pastor Kumuyi is very well known.
Wow.
Not just in Nigeria, but all over the world, actually.
Wow.
As the general overseer of Deeper Life Church, and well over 1 million members.
Wow. I think that's in Nigeria alone.
Yeah, actually, I after he left, I began to read more articles about him. And I read a book that was written by one of the British guys, a journalist or somebody.
Somebody.
Yeah, and then they wrote that in Nigeria alone, he actually have well over 2 million people.
Wow.
But, Pastor Kumuyi, being the meekest of men that he is.
Wow.
And he doesn't speak, he doesn't brag or anything, he's just humble. Yeah, he just calls it 1 million.
There's a 2 million.
2 million.
Very well known and respected, a man of integrity.
Yeah.
He's invited by governments, not just in Nigeria, but different parts of Africa to come and speak and address. So
he's seen it all.
Yes,
wow.
In
fact,
he's done it all.
Yes. From what he said his ministry is in over 60 nations of the world.
Yeah, well, that's where they have their churches.
Churches, multiple churches.
Not where he had visited. He's visited more. But
in fact, he said he can't even count the number of conferences and nations that he has been to. But can any of
And
you
he,
remember?
and he also said that he had seen all the miracles of the New Testament.
Yes, yes.
He had seen all the miracles of the New Testament.
He's walked in the miraculous, even when we were kids. But do any of you remember what he said? I think that was the last evening when he ministered. What do you remember him saying?
Okay, what I remember him saying vividly was that he's been all over the world. He's been to so many conferences that he can't even remember. But what he's seen in Embassy of God, he's never ever seen before in his lifetime. And this, I don't know how old he is, but
He's 70 years old.
Yeah.
70.
I was like, oh my goodness, if this guy has been alive and evangelizing for God and he's not seen this, then there's a lot we need to learn.
So it's just to give you an idea. When it comes from us, you may
I
not.
want to comment on what he said.
Yeah. And just amazing in terms of the impact that he's had throughout the world, and to say that I've never seen anything like this.
Wow.
And one thing that sometimes you see in terms of leaders coming and preaching at conferences, they preach during their sessions, but they don't sit through the rest of them.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was so meek, so humble, and said that he was so ready to learn, even from what was done here, that he sat through every single session, every presentation, everything that went on. He sat and he learned, and of course he then gave back based on what he heard. It was just amazing. His humility, but also him recognizing that what's going on here at the Embassy of God is truly phenomenal, and it's wow.
And that is where most preachers miss it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of preachers who've been to us, who have visited us here, and they don't sit through other people's sessions, especially when there are no sessions, just presentations and things going on, worship and things. And this man will sit throughout all the messages of other men of God, and they will even say when there was like just to see the inner running of the church, the worship, the presentations, the testimonies, and brilliant.
Wow.